Yo, it's 6:30 already, man. Can you believe it?
You want me to do it? Intro?
Yeah, bro, it's your turn.
Oh, yeah. Max, Toby, thanks for joining us. Episode 20 of the Columbus DJ podcast. We love doing this. We love reconnecting with you guys, especially because, nothing's really going on. Hi, Mom. My mom just joined.
Mama Corrupt, right on time. Every time.
I really like this combination here. Toby, you're a legend in the house scene here. And Max, you obviously are aware of how the house scene came up, which I would consider you more of like the future of house music and up and comer, I guess.
I would say prodigy. We got like the legend and then the prodigy right now.
Yeah, but what's cool about the Columbus house scene is the older house DJs are still very active in the house scene, and the younger house DJs give respect. Most house DJs in Columbus give respect to the older house DJs, and want to learn like of how it all started and what shows used to be like the top shows. So welcome, guys. Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having us. I appreciate it.
So yeah, it's been crazy. Like I don't want to talk about COVID too much, but what's your guys? Where's your minds at right now? I know that you guys miss DJing, obviously. Are you guys feeling optimistic at this point, or do you think we're in for a long-term delay of gigs?
I think we're in for a long-term delay for gigs for sure, because the flu season is about to hit too, like just the normal flu, and I feel like that combo with Corona is just gonna mess everything up, and it's just gonna spread. Like the asymptomatic Corona people who don't even like sneeze or cough are now gonna sneeze and cough, so it's just gonna spread like wildfire. That's where I am.
So you feel like it's just gonna get worse when it gets colder.
Yeah.
What do you think, Push? You're working in a hospital now, so that makes you like Doctor-esque.
Yeah, right. Sure. I don't see it ending anytime soon, to be honest with you. The hospitals are all preparing for the worst. They all have protocols of when and if, but they're all saying mostly when. Test results are up. It's not going to end anytime soon. The world's not going to change right now, I don't believe. It's already changed very differently from where it was, and I think it's going to stay in this change for a while. And then when it comes out of this, it's still not going to be the same as it was. We're going to have to rethink how parties are. We're going to have to rethink all kinds of things. It's not going to be the same.
You know what? You know me. I like to play devil's advocate. I obviously agree with both of you. I think things have changed, and they've changed permanently. However, I have heard from a hospital in Pittsburgh. They were the ones who discovered the polio vaccine, and they're really reputable. That they're saying the virus is weakening. But then on the reality side of me probably says that's due to it being summer and the virus doesn't do well in heat. And I hope that, people, I think every day more people kind of get with the program. But then again, I think people are also getting bored of it as well. So I'm gonna say I'm right in the middle. I have no idea which way it's going to go, but I certainly hope it gets better.
Me too.
I think we all hope that for sure. Let's go to intros. Let's start with you, Toby, since you are the older of the house guys right here. Let's just tell us a little bit about where you
call me old man.
Listen, man, I'm old.
Wise.
Talk about your journey, man. Just tell everybody who might not know you who you are.
All right. Well, I'm DJ Push. I started DJing in 1998. I was owed a little bit of money, so I was able to obtain some turntables and a crate of records from somebody. And then I took that into the basement, and my friend Gary and we split the crate. He took the jungle, I took the house. And then we just started grinding and grinding and grinding. Then I'd say it was around '99, I had my first club night. That was at FM. It was at the corner of town, 4th, downtown. Food and Music was the long version of FM. I started Friday nights. I was a graffiti writer at the time. We decided to make up aliases, and somehow mine became Push, and I don't know how. So I thought it was really cool. I was like, all right, we'll call this Push Productions. I called it Push Movement for a minute. I was just trying to make a movement and continue what I saw from my friends. I mean, so many friends, like Walt from Collective Intelligence. We had Mark Anthony from OCI. I had all of the Oak Street kids back in the day. There was a lot going on around 98, 99 in this city, a lot. So I got married, had a couple kids, kind of stepped away for a little bit, moved away. Never really stopped playing music. Came back 2009. I threw a party. I don't know why I decided I wanted to all of a sudden just jump right back in, but I did. That was called Proper. And there were Terry Mullen, Paul Johnson, Terrence Parker, the entire Quality crew, my entire crew. Aaron was there. That's kind of where Aaron and I started co-mingling. We knew of each other, like from past things. But then after that, we founded the Fresh Air parties that happened on my deck. And that actually, I got to give like shout outs. Nick Reed was there. If you guys remember Digerati, they were sitting there.
Oh yeah.
So Nick Reed, Digerati, myself, and at that point it was Nick and Chad. And then one by one, people kind of fell off. Like I remember we were on the rooftop and Nick's like, we're going to throw this big ass party in a water park. Who's in? And I was like, fucking crazy. Like, we can't do that. And then I was like, I'm not putting my name on it, but I'll be support, whatever. Like, and we all like went in and did that. And then he did 2 more, 3 more. And then we had the Kool-Aid parties. Those were always really good. Like Corrupt, you played at a Kool-Aid party, I recall. I actually came across my memories the other day of you playing a Kool-Aid party and saying, I'm up here playing Kool-Aid and I'm going downstairs and I'm playing for the rest of the night.
Yeah.
I drive by that high rise that they're building where Social was every day. And I'm like, oh man, fun times that were had there. It's crazy. Now fast forward to kind of what we've done now. I mean, at Granero, at Dahlia, we did a few things. At Granero, we brought a whole bunch of huge headliners. Now we're kind of based out of Forum, which is, I mean, nothing is doing anything right now, but when it opens back up, I feel we'll definitely have a night there. There's definitely, Aaron is more so the booking agent within our group. That's his wheelhouse. All of us have our strengths, and we respect those.
Hey, Toby, I'm going to interrupt you for a second. For those listening who who may not know Aaron, he's talking about Aaron Os 10, and the group is Run 614. Is that right, Toby?
Absolutely.
All right, cool.
That's our stuff right there.
Yep, keep going.
I kind of dropped the Push Productions for the most part, and it's all Run 614 basically right now. I mean, Push has a lot of accolades, like the production company does, throughout the years, but we've all collaborated and like we're all together on that. But anyway, everybody stays in their lane because everybody has their strength, which is very important for something to be successful. You can't cross the streams. So that's kind of where we're at right now. And that's basically my story. I enjoy playing house music a lot. I've played decades of house music. I think what was that, 22 years in the game at this point.
Nice.
So,
Toby, I got a bunch of questions for you, but I want to get the intro to Max.
okay.
Max, tell everybody what you do, what you make, what you play, and how you get started.
Well, I've been involved with music for majority of my life. Like, everyone in my household played an instrument, and that influenced me to learn how to play piano, like cello, like even take vocal lessons at one time. But like, I just like dreaded going to classes because I just hated the repetition, and like for some reason I just couldn't get a part of that. But I still continued to play those instruments and just improv until I like heard something that sounded good. And my older brother Sam and I actually tried to write songs of our own when we were like 6, and he was 10, and I would be the singer and he'd be the guitarist. And like that was just like when it started, like that I loved writing music, and I've always wanted to do it. And it wasn't until I went to college at OU, and my brother Sam, he actually like lived pretty close to me at a dorm. I was pretty lucky, and he was good friends with Alex Fear, which is a part of Fear and Low. And we actually like all grew up in the same neighborhood, like back in Dayton.
Nice.
So we go way back. And one night Alex just brought over his controller. It was and just having like a regular college night, and I just like fell in love with the art of mixing music. And that I think that's where it all started, is just those early beginnings with my brother and Alex here. But officially, I would say I've been DJing for 3 years. I started in Athens with B-Funk. He threw those DJ showcase shows.
Nice.
And I submitted.
It's awesome.
I submitted like mix, and it was like in June of Trance, which was like, it was just all in June. Like I had no idea like how like you shouldn't play one label like all throughout a whole set anyway. But yeah, that's where it all started. And after I graduated college, I mean, I wanted to move to a place where there are like frequent shows, and Alex is already living here. So I basically moved in with him, and like I just thought that tech house was just the thing when I was here. Like I saw Push play at Granero when that was probably one of my first shows coming here. And after a while, I started playing tech house shows, like at Thump, the program that Nick Reed runs, and then eventually I talked to James and opened for Worthy in 2018, I think. But it was just like.
Were we both on that show?
Yeah.
Could have been.
I thought so.
Yeah.
Because I've opened for him every time he's come here.
I think you're right out.
Probably then.
Yeah. Awesome.
I don't think we would have thrown that show without Aaron involved anyway. So.
No. It's like no, absolutely not. Sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to interrupt you, man. I apologize.
Oh no,
it's good, man.
Oh no, you're good, man. But I mean, after a while, even though like everyone was in the tech house and bass house around here, and dubstep, but even though that was the popular style, I still loved like melodic, like progressive music, and that's where I spent most of my time at home mixing, was like melodic music. Like I just couldn't get into practicing tech house or bass or anything like that. And that was just like my first true love of dance music.
So you would say that your style is progressive techno more so than tech house, even though you enjoy tech house, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I still love playing tech house. I still love seeing, dancing to tech house. Still appreciate it, but I just feel like melodic progressive techno, I just feel like it moves the crowd like in a roller coaster of emotions, and I just love that. Like, I just love seeing moods change on people's faces when I'm playing tracks, and that's just like the best genre for it, I think.
Shout out to Phil and Bryson joined us. Phil's
What's up, guys?
They're talking to each other about some weird stuff right now, but that's awesome, man. Max, I'll come right back to you. I know you want to get some questions in, Mike. I got one for Toby, though.
Yeah, go for it.
You brought up the Kool-Aid party, which is around the time that we kind of started to get to know each other, right?
That's true.
That's one of my favorite all-time memories, because before that, I wasn't as educated in the house scene, and definitely not the underground scene of house music. I was more into the electronic, like your Cascade and Deadmau5 of the world and stuff like that.
Right.
So the Kool-Aid thing was a whole vibe. I mean, the first one was a complete success. The DJ lineup, I met so many veteran house DJs, and everyone was super cool to me. And it was fun preparing for that, because I had just discovered Dirty Bird and Shivasan and all these artists. But I also wanted to ask you, what's one of your favorite Columbus shows? As much as the Kool-Aid party was for me, I remember doing a show with you guys.
Broadcast.
Tom Flynn at
yeah.
And that was an incredible event.
It was. The Tom Flynn show was really, really good. What's crazy is that happened, so Trauma was Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and the Tom Flynn show was on Sunday. So I had to get my ass up, and we went and picked Tom Flynn up from the airport at 8 a.m. after Trauma, after leaving at 3:30 a.m. That show, that was a good one. The Broadcast show, do you remember that?
Was
at
that
Long Street?
Yes.
That was Justin Martin. You had a room off to the side. We had DJ Psycho from Detroit. We partnered up with Squared. Yourself. That's a different one.
Oh, okay.
We had J Flip twice.
Gotcha.
We had J Flip at Red Club, and then we had J Flip. Nick Reed had J Flip at Scully's. I'm trying to think where the last time we had J Flip was. I can't remember off the top of my head.
You did a launch one with her, though, because I remember she played all these break beats, and I was like,
oh yeah, okay. I don't know, one that would stick out. I'm just telling you, those Kool-Aid parties. The first two Fresh Airs that we did at Goodale Park at the gazebo. I mean, there was probably only 50 people that we had invited, but the walk-through traffic was crazy. Because we were doing them from 12 to 4. Because, by the way, that gazebo is very expensive, incredibly expensive. We had to get donations, and we had to get sponsors to do that, to be able to do those shows without making any money, because they're stupid expensive. Anyway, I'd say those first two shows, the Kool-Aid party. There was one we called Vagabond Lounge that went on that social rooftop as well during the Park Street Festival. That was really successful. There was a lot of fun. But that broadcast with Justin Martin, to be able to hang out in this huge upper deck with one of my idols, and just one, to be able to play to a full house, two, to be able to hang out with him was just, I don't know, it was kind of mind blowing to me.
Bryson says he still has his Kool-Aid sunglasses. I wish I still had one.
I do too. I have 2 or 3.
Nice.
I'll give you one. I'm pretty sure Aaron's sitting on a few too. Sorry. Apologize.
No, you're good. I know Mike got some. Oh, my cat.
What's up, Felix? Yeah, I just want to say you were talking about Push Productions accolades earlier, and I think the first accolade that comes to mind is most rented CDJs. I think at any show that's not probably a Dahlia that gets CDJs, they definitely have little Push Productions sticker on them.
They do. And you like texted me from the Breakaway Festival while you're playing on them saying, why the hell did you rent broken CDJs to the Breakaway Festival?
Oh, man, I don't want you to bring that up. You know me. I love my Q points, bro. I love my.
Yeah, I know.
But it's all good. All love, man. And then my follow-up question for Max was, did you start with progressive, or I know maybe Corrupt and we kind of went from like that pop EDM to prog house to trance to tech house. And then we finally got to like the progressive and then the techno. And then I think Corrupt found bass house, and I kind of stick in my like summer house lane. Did you kind of start with progressive?
I actually started with trance, like big, like Above and Beyond, like kind of like trance like that. But like what changed me was I actually went to Above and Beyond show, and Lane 8 was the opener, and that was like my first electronic show, and Lane 8 like blew my mind of like just the style and how he just progressed through the set, and that has just been like my influence ever since.
Yeah, that's awesome. And then Corrupt, another guy from OU, man. I mean, can we get some diversity on this show, please?
It's true, man. They party so much that all the DJs are like God down there. So they
DJ Factory, man.
That's great, though. I got a question, Max, for you. I've got a couple questions you can answer separately. But one, you know, you're grinding your ass off. You're branding pretty well now. You're making a bunch of music. What do you what's your goals in the next 3 years of who would you like to see support your music, and who's some of the guys that you would like to be support to on a show?
Actually, my like most recent release, I actually got a whole bunch of support. Lane 8 downloaded my track.
Nice.
That's got to be a dream come true, man.
Yeah. Joris Bourne downloaded it. Above and Beyond.
Wow.
Guy J. Like, I just feel like the dream is like coming together, but I just feel like my name is still not out there yet. You know, like my goal is just to spread out my name, and like, I mean, the top goal is in Deep, because they're throwing shows all over the world, like Bulgaria, Dubai, you know, you name it. They're doing a show there. I mean, that's like the best way to spread your name. Like, everyone knows those guys.
I agree with you, man, and I think you're doing it right. You know, you're in Columbus, Ohio, so let your music continue to speak. Obviously, it's working. So that's great. I think, you know, I had no idea. I didn't know about the Lane 8 thing, and I think that's huge. I think just continue sharing that. We're definitely on board with your music. But you got anything, Mike? You want to go to Toby?
You know, we'll kind of already talk about it, so we'll stay here, and Toby can obviously chime in on this. But one of the questions I wanted to talk about was the renaissance of Columbus music producers. I mean, you have BOCKOVEN, Governor getting attention, Fear and Low, Intel, Corrupt US getting a ton of attention. And I feel like more so than ever, and I've been paying attention to see. And I wanted to talk to you and Push to see what might be a contributing factor to that, and how other people, DJs and otherwise, can help like really push it forward. Because I feel like there's already a lot of momentum, and like you're saying, Max, getting your name out there is huge. So what would be like that last, no pun intended, push to get Columbus like on the map for, you know, house and progressive?
It already is. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Push.
I said it already is. Like, this has always been a house town. Well, actually, it was house and techno. But this town has always been a good jumping point for this kind of music. It really has. I mean, you've got the Teton Times. There's been a whole bunch of people who have springboarded off of how diverse and just how large it's not that large of a city. I mean, I guess what is like the fourth largest growing city or something like that. I see different statistics, but it's a great place for these things to go off, like most assuredly. And like this guy, and like there's a whole bunch of people putting out all this music, and I see a whole bunch of Columbus heads, or you look at Beatport, and like they're climbing up charts and they're doing like all these things and posting like, hey, I'm number 4, I'm number 3, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. Like, I mean, it's fucking awesome. Like, I think it comes from support from people like you, Mike, people like you, James, and like just people all around, like being inclusive instead of exclusive, which is really important, I believe. Because back in the 90s, no one was like, oh, your genre sucks, or oh, this isn't good. Everyone was always like, let's go support this person at this down and dirty ass club. Let's go support this person. Let's go do this. Let's go do that. Let's go to a gross ass campus bar, and there's going to be 25 of us, but let's do it. Let's bring a big ass DJ to like Maxwell's that on High Street, and like he has to climb up this gross ass ladder and go up into a DJ booth, and no one's going to see him. No one's going to know who's there, but let's do it anyway. And like things like that.
What do you think, Max? Stop apologizing, Push. We love hearing it, man. Max, what do you think has kind of led to the renaissance?
Oh, definitely like Govan, Fear and Low, Intel. We're all like talking to each other constantly, and we're always showing each other's music. We're showing each other tips on like what to do with our productions, and like that is huge. Like the more ears you have to listen to your music and critique it, it's like the better it's gonna sound. Like when I first started off, like I actually was producing before I was DJing, and I was the only one listening to it, and I was like, oh yeah, this is great. But then I showed it to someone else, and they're like, I don't even know what this is. So definitely being a part of a group and having that, we just have such a close group right now, and I think that's like powerful in the scene right now.
We'll talk about what it's been like, you know, being so close to Zach and Alex. You're kind of coming up with them. What's my cat? Just freaked out. You're kind of coming up with them. You're coming up with, you know, Govan, and I know I'm forgetting a bunch of people.
Christian Bastani, right?
Christian Bastani. Joey started to produce.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, just talk about how motivating and helpful it's been to be around them all the time.
Oh, yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah. And then we're like, let's just work on a track together. It might not sound good, and that might be our styles, but like, hey, like, what are you doing to that bass? What are you doing to that hi-hat? Like, that kind of stuff. Just, you know, everyone does it differently. There isn't like a written rule for how to produce a song, you know. Everyone does it differently.
That's awesome, man.
Push, I want to come back to you, man. Kind of staying on this. You've been in the game 22 years, most of it in Columbus. we hear a lot of the old, myself included, in the older guys talking about, like, you know, maybe before my time, before Corrupt's time, like, oh man, the house and techno scene in Columbus was so good back then. You've seen it all, man. Do you think the best days in house are behind us? You think we're living in it right now? Maybe not 2020, but like 2018, 2019? Or do you think that with this renaissance that we just talked about, do you think that the best days of house in Columbus are in front of us, with the city growing at the fourth largest rate in the country?
I would say that it's a pretty static thing. It's always been there. It's not going to go away. I mean, it would be like saying the blues are going to go away, rock and roll is going to go away. Like, this is not a genre. It's a genre that takes a left turn and a right turn here and there. There's lots of subgenres that fall off around it. Some of them go strong, some of them fizzle. But it always comes back to house and techno. Let's look at movement. Let's look at like that's purely based around a techno idea. House, Chicago. Like, let's like there's entire cities in this country right now that are going around that. And in our city is very diverse. We have a whole bunch of different stuff. Back in the day, like I was saying, it was a 50-50 house techno. There was actually a party at the Red Zone called House versus Techno. Tatan played, Jeff Pons played, Jason Lyman played, a whole bunch of like the old school, like really, really good guys. And they all had shirts. One said house, one said techno, and they would go back to back to back to back to back to back. That's
awesome.
Pretty bad. It was bad.
We need to do that. Corrupt. We got to put that on the list for Dahlia when things start to come back. I think that'd be a really dope party idea.
House versus techno.
Yeah, man. I think that's awesome. Like a patio versus the inside or something like that.
Yeah.
Toby, you mentioned some names that I don't even know. Maybe you could talk about, like, who the pioneers were in the city, and then like what they did well. So for instance, I hear about Mike G and like just the way he was able to connect with the crowd, and then kind of hear about these other guys.
Legend.
He is a legend. I actually, at one point, Aaron found and released a set of him playing at 700 North High, which is where Level was in the short north. It's basically pretty close to Buttles and High. It's just a little bit north. I mean, that guy's he's a fucking legend, and he'll call you legend every time he talks to you.
Yeah.
What's up, legend? Anywho, like, so that guy, like, I mean, he threw it all. I'm pretty sure he mortgaged his house and lived inside of the Red Zone just to like build that club, is how the story goes, like how I've seen it. The apartment was in there before it was demolished and became kind of the green room. But a whole bunch of legends. Walt of Collective Intelligence. He threw Metamorphosis at the convention center, which was like an eye-opener for everybody. He plays breaks. He brought a lot of jungle people in. Back in the day, there always used to be two rooms: front room house, back room jungle, almost always, or back room hip hop, and that's where all the breakers were hanging out. There's Jeff Pons and Jason Lyman, the Quality Crew. Mike Poe is in that. Steve Solo. They were a part of and Doughboy Pitch Control Productions. They used to do Clockwork Sundays one Sunday a month. They would bring the biggest DJs, DJ Funk. I'm spacing on like some of them, but they were bringing like huge national talent, like lines around the corner.
Wasn't Carl Cox coming here like every month? Were they like the guys bringing him?
They would have been.
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah, and Jeff Pons, like, I mean, he's a hugely successful architect, like the Granby Yard, like that's him. Like, he's moved on, but he's great guy. Other people, there's a guy named Rory and Ryan. They ran Malfunction. I think they did like 20 some parties, all of them successful except for the very last one. But I mean, they were huge in this system. the crew that I was connected to, the Surreal Crew, Tilt 1, 2, 3, Cake, Motive. We were doing a lot of parties and a lot of stuff. There was stuff in Whitehall. There used to be a paintball place in Graceland Shopping Center. We did a couple there. And we can't discount Pit Tauntaun and Thomas James. Thomas James kind of fell off the map. Not really sure what happened to him. But those two, they ran Residual Recordings and also Residual, which they threw a bunch of parties, a whole ton of parties. And it was.
Toby, do you remember people named Blue Bunny?
I do not.
Blue Bunny threw some events when it was Spice Bar next to.
What year was that?
I want to.
Was it like 2004 or later? Because if it was, yeah. I left in 2004. I went to Nashville, Tennessee, and didn't come back till 2009.
You did your country career, right? That was your country.
Yeah, I went to Nashville. I went to Atlanta, but then I went to Annapolis, Maryland, and Baltimore, and then came back here.
Dang. Okay. Columbus the best?
Yeah, that's why I'm here.
There you go. You know what? Actually, let's jump into some show and tell. James, why don't you explain to these guys what show and tell is, and we'll head into that segment.
Look, we've had some interesting shares. Just something that's significant to you, it means a lot to you. It could be DJ or non-DJ related, but it's something around you right now, or a picture of something. Looks like this shirt is pretty awesome on Max. I like that. Just as a shirt. But yeah, just we'll start with you, Toby. What you got for us, man?
Something that's important to me. Well, I would bring one of my dogs in here and show you, but she's a little bit too far away. But
all right, yeah, let's talk about the ink.
Oh, that's sweet.
This right here,
Technic 1200 right there.
It's exactly. It's a 1200 tone arm. It is exact, like 2 size, 2 scale.
That's dope.
That is really sweet. That is.
I really like that. It's very important to me. It's my favorite tattoo.
It looks like it's still in like really good condition.
There's a picture of me playing at Kool-Aid on social, and this was the only tattoo that I had on this arm.
Nice.
So whenever that was, like 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
Memento, Carrie.
How much vinyl do you have, Toby?
Really? If you gotta think on it, man.
I'd say like 3,500.
Damn.
Damn, bro.
It's like a museum, dude.
What?
Yeah, there's a lot. I have a lot. And for a second there, I was just purchasing people's collections that they didn't want anymore, and I was like, I'll take it.
I just wonder all the time. Like, we came into the Serato pretty quickly, Mike. Like, and you hear about them carrying crates around all the time, and I'm just like,
oh, dude, fuck
dude,
that.
I already
hated carrying a DJ coffin. I can't imagine doing 3 trips or whatever.
Carrying a crate was a good way to get in. I'm sorry.
No,
okay. No, that makes sense too. Max, what you got for this?
Yeah, Max.
All right. I gotta get up for a second.
While Max is doing that, DJ Conflict, who also hosts a podcast, the My Favorite DJ podcast, I highly recommend it. It's good for new DJs. He answers a bunch of questions, but he also does interviews. It was him and DJ Digital Dave from Pittsburgh talking about lugging crates into clubs. And so he would have to park his car, unload the crates, go park at a parking garage, go back to the club, take a taxi to the club, load the vinyl into the booth, do the set, and at the end of the night, get the car, get the vinyl, and he would have like 4 people helping him. I'm like, nah, man, I came in right at the right time.
Yeah, it was some bullshit, man.
My trick, Mike, was hire a light guy for each place. Rusty, Joey, Spencer, and then they would just help you carry things out.
That's right.
They'd give you like a little fine, and then they'd help you.
I got to give a shout out to my wife. Like, I'd say 80% of the gigs that I play at 2:30 while I'm trying to figure out like what pay is and what stuff is, she's generally up there breaking turntables down, packing them in cases, loading them to the door. Like,
and the best part about Mrs. Push is she's on the dance floor the whole time, man. She knows all the DJs. She's talking to all of us, remembers everything. Like, oh my gosh, one of my favorite people to see at a party. I give her a big hug every time.
Yeah.
What you got for us, Max?
All right. So my dad is an artist. So this has been like hung up. This is probably like 10 years old. And I don't know, it's just inspiring to me to have like him do something like in an art form, just like me, like being creative and all, and so like.
Dude, I'm a huge fan of the abstract art stuff.
Yeah.
So basically the creative juices have been flowing through your family. So you think you got it from your dad, maybe?
Oh yeah, and definitely my mom too. I mean, very smart, like, like creative in a different way. Like she can like problem solve like basically like anything. So like,
yo, Max, I have a challenge for you. You have to convert that into a shirt. That would be I want you to.
Oh,
that would literally fit your style too. Yeah.
Kind of like this.
And then the first Anjuna Deep show, you can wear it for it.
Oh yeah,
that'd be really cool. Good idea, Mike. One of your better ideas.
Since Toby brought up turntables, I want to talk about CDJs. Obviously, well, actually, I want to ask you, Push, do you prefer CDJs or turntables in 2020? Like, if you have the option.
If I'm playing a show, I prefer CDJs.
Okay.
There's a lot less that can go wrong. However, with those new like Serato things you can put in the middle, I haven't tried those, but I mean that might be a thing. I used to really prefer the manipulation that you can do and the feel. I mean, there's sometimes I play that I really wish I could feel that. I could slow it down or speed it up. I love that feel, but it's safer to play on a CDJ because it's not going to skip. It's not going to, like, something's not going to go wrong. Like, the needle's not going to break. It's not going to connect. Like, so I like them both.
Cool. But I wanted to talk about the CDJ 3000 or the CDJ 2000 Mark III. I think Pioneer's probably sitting on that right now, just because of something that they put out in December, which is basically the CDJ 2000, but it has the, the 2 rows of pads that you see on a lot of the Pioneer mixers. And I'm thinking that's probably going to be in the next iteration of whatever the CDJ is. I want to ask you guys, what do you think, or what would you like to see in the next CDJ? What do you think they could add for it? Or are they as good as they're going to be now? Max.
I would like to see multiple USB ports because, I mean, personally, when we're having like after parties at our place, everyone's like unplugging their flash drives constantly.
That's a really good point.
I've had so many USBs get corrupted because people just don't know how to. They don't push the button to eject it. They just rip it out, and then there goes all of my music, and I have to reload it, and it's very frustrating.
I agree.
So,
on top of that, I would say just like fix the USB Air situation, make it more compatible with all brands of USBs, and maybe even make updating firmware easier somehow. Maybe just, you can just connect to like some sort of online Pioneer site on the CDJ.
Yeah, Beatport is doing that link. Have you guys looked into that?
No.
My son does it. Like he can not buy the track, but he can link and he can play the tracks without buying them. And like, is that what you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
cool.
Yeah.
All you need is like internet connection. If there could be some kind of like subscription, like Spotify, where you can like download a playlist and have it offline. That way you wouldn't have to even worry about like, your USB being corrupted during a show or having like an emergency loop. Yeah, because like I actually was playing the MG and a Family show for Chicago, like a live stream, and my USB kept on going to the emergency loop, and I was like one of probably like one of the most important streams I've done, and of course that happens.
That's when that happens.
Yeah. And you're like, you can't explain it. You can't be like, oh, my USB. Like, you can't explain that to someone who's just listening, So definitely that'll fix it.
I would say I would want them to be more resilient. I would like push play button and cue button to not go out as often as they do.
Yes.
Because God knows how many times I've it's happened to mine upon renting them. Like someone just hammers on that play button, and the next thing you know, it's done. I understand the replaceable parts. Same kind of things with mixers and faders. Once you hammer a fader for too long, you got to replace it. I would just like them to last a little bit longer.
Yeah. So Mike, your question was, I'm sure you were expecting more features. But we're just trying to fix some stuff, man.
No, man, I'm curious. I'm just curious, dude. This is all good. Like, I think the 2 USB port is a great idea, especially, we were talking about wiretap last week. I started putting my music on not only 2 flash drives, but also an SD card, just for that reason. Because we were, like Max says, you're throwing stuff around. We've used the emergency loop more than once during big shows.
Oh, man.
I think that's a great idea, and I think if they don't incorporate the pads, I think that's criminal. Because having to, I think everything has 8 pads now, and having to hit the shift button and then a 4. I mean, when you're actually try to do stuff, I think that's a little bit too far in the past for me. That's like the big thing that I want them to change, and maybe a second effects button so you could have different effects on each channel. I don't know how many people would use that. I love the effects on the Pioneer mixers. But I think having like one button on the right side and be able to set that to CDJ2 or CDJ2 and 4, and then having one on the left side and then CDJ1 and 2. I'm sure that's coming with the V10. I didn't look in the V10 just because I don't need. I'm still good with 2 channels, so I definitely don't need 6. But that was maybe they did that. Anything else you guys want to talk about? Another thing I thought about was a version that has 12-inch CDJ platters. So same platter, it doesn't need to spin, but just having the control of 12 inches. I don't know how you guys feel about that.
Yeah. I want an alert to flash on the CDJ if somebody has COVID 6 feet from you.
You just lick the CDJ and it tells you.
If you want there to be DJs, like, we got to figure it out,
Hey, whoa. Step what?
I mean, I'm totally comfortable with everyone just coming to the club in hazmat suits. I mean, if that's what we do to party, like,
I'm down for a hazmat suit rave right now.
Yeah, dude. Like, people wear that like before COVID, just like jokingly at a festival. So if we could just normalize that, I think we'd be good. Let's see what else we want to talk about. One of the running questions. Yo, Max, what'd you say?
Never mind.
Cool. B-Funk's running question. He sent me a list of questions and we try to hit one every show. He said, how do you guys deal with nerves before a set or before a show? And I want to go to Push first. Hey. It's probably the first episode I've
had plenty of drinks with Toby, so the more drinks I give him, the more awesome beats.
Well, I don't know. It gets to a certain point, though. Like, there's definitely been some times. No, like there's a fluid good zone, and then there's a bad zone. Before real big shows, though, I mean, you get it like right in here, and then you start questioning. Like, I hate every song I'm about to play. I'm not sure it's good. Like, is this good? Is my idea good? A couple drinks, pretty good. Just make yourself kind of fluid. I kind of start talking to myself a little bit, talking myself through it. Generally, my wife's there, so like she's very helpful. Like, I don't think she's missed a show in 10 years.
Amazing.
I really don't.
Get one like Mrs. Push, man. I'm telling you. What about you, Max? What do you do before a show?
Well, if I'm doing like a big show, like if like let's say I did that Madion show last year, and I spent weeks listening to tracks over and over just to make sure that like it was like the right vibe and I didn't get out of the track that I was listening to. So you know what I mean? Like when you first listen to a track, you're like, oh yeah, that's good. But then like after a while, like it's old. I'm trying to look for those tracks that are timeless.
So preparation is a big part.
Yeah, definitely like a preparation, like days before that. You know, just sets my mind right that I know that I'm prepared for that show. Like if someone told me like right now, like, oh hey, you gotta open for Above and Beyond in 20 minutes, I'd be like, well, you know.
Max, I'm sure it helps too that, you know, every time we put you on a show, you've got your main crew there, you know, and you know it's all good because you know your crew's going to be front and center too. So I think that's a really good thing, especially as you gain more experience doing the gigs.
Oh yeah, definitely. Oh, and I like to add, I've done like less and less. I mean, like I started out with that preparation just because I was new to it. Preparing for shows, the more you prepare for a show, like you say, like, all right, let's make a perfect set when you're at home. If you just keep on doing that, then it becomes more natural when you're actually up on the decks. They're like, oh yeah, this is the next song, this is the next progression.
Does anyone ever listen to a totally opposite genre on the way to the club that they're going to play? I generally try to.
Like, I do that a lot, actually.
Me too. Me too.
Because I already know I'm going to be listening to it all night, and by listening to something else, it makes what I'm going to listen to in the club that much better. I feel like.
Exactly. Like I try really hard not to listen to house or electronic on the way to the club. I try and kind of cleanse my palate on the way there, so that I don't feel that what I'm going to play is stale or like is old. I kind of want it to go away.
Sure.
And then I get there and I'm more excited about what I play.
I'm actually the opposite. Yeah, I usually try to listen to things that I think I might play on the way, just because, I mean, because I play like so many different types of music, I like house, you know, sometimes I look at the track name, I'm like, gosh, I don't even know what that song sounds like until I start playing it. So I try to listen to it. And so I try to predict, okay, if the crowd's really feeling this, I know to leave it in. If the crowd's not feeling it, or I want to move out, here's my exit points. Just because I don't get to play house probably as much as like, you know, Push, you and Max do, and even you Corrupt. So I try to listen to what I'm about to play on the way to the set, just so I'm even that much more comfortable. And then my number one secret is the pregame bathroom run. Man, nothing like I'm 15 minutes before my set. I usually do my pregame bathroom run, and then I might ask the DJ who's before me to hook up my recorder, get my video stuff right, and then I go through my checklist of, okay, you know, everyone else likes the through knobs, especially you, Max. Everyone else likes the through, so I got to flip it over to like A and B and make sure that my crossfaders on and all the things. So just running through that checklist really helps me be prepared. Corrupt, what do you do, man? Do you get nerves?
I get antsy, or I just want to get on with it.
There you go. Yes.
Like I hate sitting there. If I have an opener, if the opener's crushing it, I have no worries. But sometimes if I feel like the opener's a little off, or maybe has a potential to lose the room, then I'm just sitting there like trying to get on. But that doesn't happen as much. If I'm about to open for like a bigger name or something like that, not really. you know, a lot of preparation. I do the same thing Max does. I do a lot of preparation, and then I just rely on experience. But I used to get very nervous.
I imagine that look over your shoulder is at PD, right? Just making sure.
Or I mean, you know, Corso.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't ever change. So just get used to that. Just know that if you have a bad night, you just don't let it eat at you for the next 24 to 48 hours.
Corso is the worst. He'd be like, "Don't fuck up."
Yeah.
What?
Max, Michael, is that your dad? Said thanks for the shout out. So that's pretty cool.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Nice.
Yeah. Don't have volume yet.
I'm gonna lip sync for Max. Hey, Dad, it's awesome that you're watching the podcast. I love you very much. What else is he saying?
What's up, Jimmy Gamer in the building?
Hey, he's a Warzone guy, right, James? He's on the squad.
Me and Jimmy get dubs every day together.
Yeah, that's
He's
awesome.
very good at the game. While we wait to get Max's volume back, Toby, I do think we could potentially do another Kool-Aid-esque party, especially because I think, you know, patio vibes and just kind of more laid-back event are going to be a huge thing.
There we go. We hear you.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Push.
Yeah, I believe so too. To be quite honest, though, I have. Like, we don't continue things without each other as a crew, like, ever. So before we've had discussions about fresh air. We've had things. I mean, technically, I decided to retire at the beginning of the year, and we see that hasn't happened because whatever.
Good luck, buddy.
Yeah, I tried, but fuck it. But Yes, I agree with you 100%. But in order to do that, that's got to be a discussion between my crewmates and I, because we don't move together unless we all move together forward, like all of us together. Oh,
and I wouldn't want to do it without you guys, and I wouldn't want to do it unless it was something that, you know, was official, like the Kool-Aid party. I wouldn't want to name it like the Kool-Aid like get together and like rip it. I would never do something like that. It has to have OGs and then maybe some new DJs like you guys had me, you know. Maybe we get some of the young
we always did new DJs, like a lot of people, like up and comers. Like, do you remember that kid Boyan Bobson?
Yeah,
he was a Russian guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like he was dope. Like, I don't know, he's a pilot now. Like, but yeah, like.
Have you guys heard about BOCKOVEN? I think we should put him on there too.
Damn. You don't hear from him for 2 minutes, and he's like, "Hey, put that BOCKOVEN beat on."
Yeah.
I don't think I've heard a bad set from you ever.
Nah, man. That's why I lost 10.
And we don't get the kind of sets.
Hey, look who just showed up.
Oz10 said Kool-Aid would 1,000% happen after Corona.
Look who just showed up.
I know we talked about it, but in general, I think we're going to do a lot more patio parties, a lot more house parties. You asked the question earlier, is house music, is the best of house in the city gone with the epic parties that we used to throw? No, I think we're going to evolve and throw just as awesome as parties. And in our eyes, they'll be just as, you know, important and meaningful. So,
yo, Push, you kind of brushed through something I really want to talk about now that you mentioned it, is retirement. Like, is there a right time for a DJ to retire? What was going through your mind at the beginning of the year? Because I think I speak for all of us when I say, man, I don't think there was any reason to retire. Maybe taking on fewer shows due to your scheduling and you know, life stuff is one thing, but like, I feel like DJing is something you could do forever. Why were you thinking retirement?
Oh, it's just, it was schedules and strenuous, and we did so many weeklies and so many things, and we all have jobs outside of DJing
And families.
Yeah, and families. Just,
Oh, we lost you, Toby.
You lost me?
Yep, there you are. There you are.
Oh, there he is.
Oh, okay. There were just so many things. And I mean, let's be real. I mean, I still have like a nice studio with like all of the things there to play anytime that I want. It was, I guess it's more of a break. It was more of a break, just kind of like we kind of burned ourselves out. At one point in time, we did fresh airs at Double Happiness every Sunday for 2 months. And then we did fresh airs at Franklin Park for 2 months. And then come fall time, we find another place and we do more shows. And then it overtook, like after a while, I guess just a step back.
I was gonna say, dude, I don't think you're allowed to retire.
No,
you
man.
or Aaron or anyone. Your music knowledge is too extensive.
I was just about to say that too.
Who's gonna get all your music, bro? Who's gonna get 3,500 vinyl?
Nobody. Fine. I don't get rid of vinyl. I take vinyl. Does anybody have any vinyl they want to get rid of? Because
I only have one crate, bro, and it's like all my favorite tracks. Like if I needed to play, half hour to 45-minute set of like just my favorite tracks, that's like my crate of vinyl, and that's it. I don't want any more.
Right.
But I have a question for you, Push. If you could bring back one DJ who either is retirement, maybe they left town, or maybe they passed, if you could get one DJ to play a set like this weekend, who would you want that maybe you haven't seen in a long time?
Mark Anthony. His name was, he ran OCI. He was before you. He threw a party called Atomic that was pretty popular back in the 90s. He's the guy that really kind of got me into it, like him and Steve Solo. Actually, you know what? Sammy, the Oak Street kid, Sammy. This kid was a savant. It was crazy. I have a bunch of his records, but he was so good. The vibe that he had, he stood like this tall, and like this kid just killed it.
You're not talking about We're in Heaven, Sammy, are you?
Huh? I'm not talking about
We're in Heaven, that Sammy remake, or
no.
Okay,
He disappeared. Like OSK is Oaks. Like there used to be a large. They all went to CCAD. There was a bunch of kids that went to CCAD. They lived on Oak Street, like fucking crazy, creative kids. And there was a bunch of them that were all going to raves and all doing things. All of them, they were so good. DJ Self, do you remember him? Anyone ever remember him? He was hip hop dude. He was bread and butter with Drastic in Prism in Damon Day at the Sunday Bernie's things that used to go on, the hip hop things. Like that place was temple every Sunday, hip hop, perfect.
And then Max, I want to ask you, if you could open for any DJ, like maybe, this is you putting something into Corrupt's ear, or, PD's ear at Dahlia. If you were to pick someone, I'm guessing it's off of someone on a Fanjuna, but who do you want to open for the most right now?
Oh man, it's either go between Lene or Yato. I'd be happy with either of those guys. They just influenced me so much, and I think they're just pioneers for their sound. Like every song, every track they put out, you just don't know what you're gonna hear. It's different every time. If you listen to all of like Lane's singles that he's put out this year, none of them sound the same. I try to like mix them together, and it's all different. It's pretty cool, and yeah, like they've just been like my influences for a long time, and like that's what I strive for.
I think it's pretty realistic to bring Lene back. I opened for him at Sway a long time ago, but he wasn't wasn't as big, at least in Columbus. I don't think the show was really solid. Like when we would bring a trance guy, like we'd bring Cosmic Gate on a Tuesday, and it would sell out. But Lane 8, for whatever reason, I don't know what was going on in Columbus that night. But there's a lot of Lane 8 fans here now, I can tell you that. You need to get with one of my best friends, Jay King. It's his favorite producer. So anytime we go to a festival, if Lane 8's on the lineup, like, he's just like, peace, guys. We're just like...
It's like ever since he started this label, This Never Happened, it just blew up. Like, his credibility, you know, his fandom, everything.
Since we're talking about music, guys, we can go to Tastemakers. We like to ask, you know, we started this a couple weeks ago just because we've never really talking about music, ironically, on a DJ podcast. So we want to know what you guys have been listening to, whether it's old or new, but maybe just what's been in your ears lately. Let's start with Max.
My ears lately, let's see, Book Shade. Really like what he's doing. Knox Vaughn, like he's really, like, even though, I mean, I'm always gonna be listening to Gina Deep stuff because that's just who I am. But he's like really changing their sound and making it really a lot harder, like techno-y, and it's great. Like I suggest
that was my
this.
son. Sorry. Good.
Okay. I suggest listening to this song called Reprogram after we're done with this, and like you'll know what I mean. Like, that is not deep house anymore. Like, that's a whole nother sound.
Toby, what you listening to, man?
Lately I've been listening to a lot of Plastic Man.
Plastic Man?
Yeah. Are you familiar?
Nope.
No. Okay, Plastic Man Sheet 1 is what I've been listening to. Richie Houghton is that's his other moniker.
Nice. Okay.
So kind of some minimal stuff. Been enjoying it. The kid that just said Lane 8 never happened, or Lane 8 This Never Happened show at Scully's last year was awesome. That's my son.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah. Tim Eckert.
Roommate Alex opened
Shout out to Tim.
Like,
Yeah.
Yo, who was that reprogrammed by, Max?
Knox Vaughn. NOX space VAHN.
I must be spelling it wrong or something. Well, you have to text it to me after the podcast. And then, Push, I want to text me the Plastic Man too. Because, I mean, yeah, Richie Houghton, man, I've seen him a number of times. It's not something I listen to at home, but I do love his DJ set. So, yeah, if you guys could text me those afterwards.
Cool.
Richie Houghton at Movement last year blew my mind. Like, I didn't really like listen to techno like that, but like I didn't even know what was happening. Like it's just like a whole other world of like what Richie Houghton does.
He's a fucking badass.
Yeah, when I see the V10 and it has like 6 channels and I'm like, who uses that? I'm like, oh yeah, Richie Houghton would use that.
And then a whole bunch of other shit too.
Yeah, for sure. Krupp, what you listen to, man?
This week I got a couple house tracks. One's like a bass house track by Bolak called Muchacho, and it's a whole vibe. It is on the charts on Beatport actually, but it's kind of vibe I'm looking for to play right now on the patios that I'm doing. Mm-hmm. So I've been downloading a lot of like feel good beachy vibes, but still with a big bass line. So a lot of the bass house that's coming out right now is not as aggressive and dark. It's got a little bit of more melody to it. And then Aftertaste is a really good song by Loud Luxury, and the DOD remix is very like Eric Pritz-esque, I guess, or like third party. like it's still progressive, but it's a very good remix of a song that I already like. I got no hip hop. Last week I gave you all hip hop tracks I really liked, but
well, I got some hip hop for you.
Okay. Yeah.
City Girls' album, they've been dropping singles basically since Act Up, which was a huge hit last year. And I feel like, hip hop right now, it's like the album is very like listenable in like the car or whatever it is, but it's not like club bangers. Like usually there's like 1 to 4 singles that are the club bangers. And this City Girls album is dope. Like you play the whole thing at a club and you're good, which I feel like isn't being done a lot. And I feel like WAP, which just came out and went to #1, that could have been a song on the City Girls album. I just think Cardi B and Meg Thee Stallion have a bigger following. So if anyone's looking for like, if you feel like hip hop's like really low energy and you're looking for stuff like WAP that you can play in the club, the City Girls album was really good. And they're from Miami, so there's a lot of Uncle Luke references and there's a lot of booty tracks on there. So I know some of the old heads love that Miami booty bass. So check that out. Yeah. So check that out. The album was really solid, I would say.
Like, what's funny is the WAP song, first of all, is hilarious.
Yes, so good.
And, Rusty, he's not a huge Cardi B fan for a while, but he's like, man, that track, WAP, he loves it.
It's great.
Like the old Wars in This House sample and everything, like it brought so many memories back. And like, honestly, the beat is really good.
And I think that's going to be this generation's My Neck, My Back or How Many Licks or something like that, where it's just we're going to play that in the club forever.
Kevin Lee said another hip-hop artist to check out is IDK.
I'm guessing that's new?
He said, yeah. Or no, I didn't say it's new, but...
Oh, yeah, I think he was listening to that this weekend. I was listening to
nice.
I was into that a lot.
Looks like Once Upon a Time Freestyle's big by them, and 24, their 2 biggest tracks. And then looks like Serial's the new single.
Our watchers to send us new music. We're not going to download our own music. Come on.
I do that. But...
Cool. My favorite segment, guys, tips for listeners. For those who have been watching, I say this every time, but this is something that's really important to us. We hope that this podcast gives back, and that we want people who listen to, hear what, 22 years of experience in the form of Push and just Ultimate Prodigy and Max. Like, what are your tips for listeners? And Toby, we'll have you go first this time.
I would just say you got to watch the floor, and you have to understand when you're clearing the floor, when you're not playing something that's working, you need to change your program. You need to be able to change your program. Don't just stick. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. My earpods, they're going to die here in a minute. You have to be able to change gears. You have to be able to understand what's going on the floor, as opposed to just sticking to one program, even though that program worked really, really, really well. If it's not working on the floor, you have to understand, make changes, and move forward.
I'm gonna play the devil's advocate with you, because I agree with you. But yeah. I think there's some DJs that say maybe they're more artists where this is who I am, this is the set I've created, and the crowd's either gonna like it or hate it. Do you think there's room for that type of DJ in the scene, or do you think that literally every DJ should be able to switch it up if what they're doing is not working?
I think they should switch it up if it's not working. And it also depends on time slot. Like if you're going to tear ass at 9 o'clock, that's not going to work. That's not going to work on the building blocks, because the way it works is the first person builds and then the second person builds. Someone walks into the club, they take their coat off, they want to get a drink. They're not ready to tear ass out right now. Like you can get up to there. But I really think that everybody should be able to read the floor. However, there's a lot of people that they like what they're playing and they want to do that. And there's a lot of artists, like big time artists, they'll play whatever they want. Mm-hmm. And they just will. And they'll be successful at it because they're playing what people want to hear. But they're also the reason why people are there.
Okay.
And it's why they're playing.
I would agree with you that people need to be able to change it up, but to what kind of change up is also the question. I wouldn't book Max to play a hip hop show. You know what I mean? So like,
well, that's a promoter issue.
If I put him in a situation, that's what I'm saying. So if I put him in a bad situation, that's going to be a bad look for him. That's not on him. And then,
well, no, I mean, you can't expect an electronic DJ to automatically be like, oh shit, everyone here wants to hear hip hop. I mean, that's extreme. Like,
right.
you have your lane. Like, if you book me, you're going to get a version of house, not, I don't know which kind, or hip hop. Like, I do play hip hop, but like, I'm sorry. But yeah, I wouldn't expect anybody to change, like, oh, let's go completely to the left. That's a promoter issue, because if a promoter should put a DJ in the right spot. They should build a show correctly.
100%.
Cool. Max, what you got for us?
I would say, so you look at, you're buying songs on Beatport and you look at like the top 10 songs. Personally, I try to avoid those top 10 songs, because that means there's going to be multiple DJs or in your city playing those songs, most likely. So I try to get like the songs that are on Spotify that are like 10,000 plays or less, kind of a thing. But are still, I mean, it's still quality. I'm not saying like I'm playing bad music. I'm just saying
you're digging.
Your set could get boring if you're just playing Chris Lake, Fisher, and people will notice that for sure, especially if you've been in the scene for a while.
Or if you're opening for an artist, you don't want to play the top. You definitely don't want to play the top 10.
Yeah, exactly, and that's why I actually have been avoiding Anjuna and This Never Happened, those two labels, because I've noticed that those are the two labels that in my genre have like most DJs have been playing. And you want to sound different. You don't want to sound like just another guy. You want to create your own persona that like what people will remember you for.
I like it.
Cool. Let's see what else we got here. I want to do the flip. So this is where you guys can bring up topics that maybe we didn't cover that you want to talk about, or you're more than welcome to ask Corrupt or I questions. What do you got for us?
Access, I want to ask, how did you get into doing sporting DJing? Like, how did that wave go into?
That's really easy, man. Relationships. So, I think it's safe to say I give it my all every show. I focus on branding probably more in the last 3 to 4 years than ever. And then just making sure that I pass out my business cards, that people know who I am. And then when the opportunity knocks, just to be ready. Because James, I think you can say this, when we were doing those Dayglow parties, we maybe were, I'm not gonna say we're in over our heads. We obviously handled the event, but I think there was probably better DJs than us in the city for those shows. Am I putting words in your mouth? Do you think?
Oh, I agree.
Yeah. So I think there were better DJs for those shows back then, but we had the opportunity. So just be ready to rise to the occasion, and don't take so I know I'm talking about Dayglow right now, but it's the same thing for Ohio State, for the Crew who got their game today in Monfrey Stadium. Shout out. So yeah, big shout out to DJ Leak who helps out with that. But yeah, just have your branding. If that's what you want to do is big sporting events, make sure your branding matches that. Make sure it's easy for them to promote you. Have your press kit ready, because You don't want to have them send an email, say, hey, we need your logo, we need some promo photos, and then you send out them some crap. Like, Push, I told you, man, thank you for sending me a really dope photo, transparent. Max, you did the same thing. It was
that would be
something
Aaron
that was easy to cut.
Austin that made that.
Yep, so big shout out Aaron Austin. But Max, you sent me a great promo photo. It was really easy to cut out and throw out on a flyer. The easier you make it for people to book you, the more you're going to get gigs. And then just be
that.
Yeah. And then I want to say this, prepare yourself for those gigs before you get them. If you want to go for Ohio State and the Crew, make sure your promo materials and your brand is ready for that ahead of time. And then just, create and nurture relationships, not for those reasons, but just because that's the right thing to do.
Right.
I think that's my tip.
Good question, Max.
Yeah, great question.
Awesome.
Anything else you guys want to talk about, just that we didn't get to? Is it Warzone time?
I don't think so.
It's close. It's close to Warzone time.
Cool. Well, before we get into Warzone time, why don't you guys tell the audience where they can find you both online and in person?
Oh yeah,
Go ahead,
Instagram, Spotify, Facebook are my main things right now. I don't have a Twitter. I probably should get one.
Yes.
You don't have to tweet, just read people's dumb tweets. That's what we do.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I started Twitter like way back in high school, and I just didn't like the content, and I just couldn't get into it. But like now, I probably should, for sure.
Absolutely. And a MailChimp. MailChimp is huge, bro. If you don't have one, I'm gonna ask Entel how long it took me to get him on MailChimp, especially for producers, because
Who's that?
MailChimp, it's a mail service. So I think a functioning human being probably checks their email at least once a week, right? And Music by BOCKOVEN's newest song released, or maybe it's the releases for the month, are going to be on there. I feel like with Instagram, you're relying on the algorithm to show me the stuff. If someone's only on Instagram, even if they follow you, but it's only been for an hour, maybe stuff by Lane 8, stuff by Tale of Us comes up first, and by that time I'm done with Instagram. So I don't see that Max released a new album. If you get them on your MailChimp, that's one way to guarantee that they see it. They may not click on it, but at least when they see you, they can't say, "Oh, I didn't know you released a track," or that when they see you and you say, "Oh, I released a track. Oh yeah, I got your email." So it's just one more way to get attention on your stuff. And it's a guaranteed way for people that people look at it. So
yeah, that's will solve so many problems, because I send so many demos to artists, and then I just see like no plays or anything, no replies. So they're not even like looking at the track. So I don't even know.
Which what I would tell you is, if they're not looking at it, it means they haven't listened to it. So don't take it personal, because they're getting so many demos. So it's like,
right.
This is more so people can support you more easily. Like I want to see your music, but I may not like. I know you probably don't post as much on Instagram as other people who I follow, so I may miss it. And I want to put your releases on the podcast, which we're going to talk about in a second. But yeah, I would say talk to Entel, because I literally was yelling at him for 3 years to do it. And now I see every time he puts out a track, and that's really helpful for me to support him and then also to put him on the podcast. But I want to move over to Push. Where can we find you on the internet and in person?
I would say, you can find Push Productions on Facebook, Run 614 on Facebook. Run 614 is not just me, so I don't want to say that. That is most assuredly a few of us. Toby the One on Instagram. Also, Toby the One on Twitter is where you can find me in person. If the forum ever opens back up, you'll see me there. you'll see a rotating group of us for sure. Probably going to do a live broadcast at some point because it's been a minute since I have. Think I'll probably do a vinyl old school one. I did one, but I didn't have good sound, but I'll do another. It had really good following, except people said it didn't sound good because I wasn't connected in. So that's where you can find me.
Cool.
That's one thing that's one thing about quarantine that I love is live streaming, actually, because you can just basically set up a time where you can play a set at any point. You know, no one's gonna tell you no.
From the comfort of your own home, even.
Right, exactly.
Yep. As I just mentioned, for the 614 releases this week, I know Body Buzz was released. The Body Buzz EP was released by Governor. So big shout out to Govan. He's been releasing stuff, I think, every Friday. And that's all I saw on Instagram. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, hey, I released something, get on MailChimp, send me your MailChimp, and I will subscribe. And then I will promise to put this on the podcast. Crypt and I do our best to find out who's releasing what. But as you guys know, the algorithm can be a bitch. Let's just be honest. So, Crypt, do you know anyone else who released anything this week?
No, I was just gonna say, shout out to Govan putting out these tracks, but also Max, that's another reason you got to get Twitter so you can read Govan's tweets on everything.
Oh my God,
they're fucking hilarious, dude.
Oh my God,
you are getting 100% Govan 100% of the time.
Oh yeah.
And then if you are watching this on YouTube, please like the video, especially if you found something helpful, or you like Toby, you like Max, you want to let us know, hey, have these guys on again. Let us know in the comments, and then do subscribe for more podcasts, more gear reviews, more discussions, and tutorials every Wednesday. Corrupt, take us out.
Episode 20, guys. Thanks so much, Max. I'm proud of you. You're kicking ass. We will get you back in there eventually, man, for some shows. Toby, we've thrown some killer parties. I really hope Oz10's kind of hinting that we'll try to get another Kool-Aid party someday. But you definitely don't retire because we need you. So
yeah, that made me sad for a minute. So I'm glad you went the opposite direction for sure.
Thank you guys for joining us, man. We love doing this.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, thanks for having me.
Of course, guys.
Thanks for everybody tuned in.
Stay safe.